What's going on? In this video, we're going to be going over Margret. Sorry it's been a little delayed. It's been crazy. We're getting ready to move. But I want to get this review out because Margret is kind of a special hero within the game right now. Margret does a little bit of everything. She doesn't push some things solo as well as, say, Sylvia. But in general, Margret is a better hero right now because she has application everywhere. She does well versus mobs. She does well in PvP. She does well in campaigns. She does well versus bosses. I mean, you cannot find a better package than Margret. So I'm going to start going over the gear that I currently have. Now, keep in mind it's not optimized, and I'll talk a little more about the gear as we go. For the weapon, I have crit damage, control resistance, hit points, and crit. On the weapon and the boots, it's very important that you get hit points. Margret is very, very squishy. And later on in the nightmare, you really start to feel that. Like, I have an issue keeping Margret alive many times. If Sarah doesn't CC, silence the mobs, then Margret for sure will die within a few rounds, even with August's buff. On the boots, I have control, block, HP, and speed. Speed is actually not bad on Margret, especially because you kind of need her to go a little bit faster in PvE. In PvP, not so much, but we'll get onto that when we talk about her, when we go to PvP talking, because Margret is a monster in PvP. And then on the armor, I have block, block break, crit, and attack. These are actually really good stats on Margret, and on the armor and on the helmet, you really want to roll attack because it works well with one of her passives, which is what makes her so deadly within the game. In the other piece, I have block break, crit, speed, control, resistance. It's nice to have some defensive stats on Margret because she is squishy. So fortitude, block are very good to have. On Margret's artifact, you don't have to really focus too much on it. It doesn't have to go super high. I think plus 10 is sufficient. Of course, you get the stat increase, which is nice, additional hit points, fortitude. I've opted for attack because it plays off of her passive abilities. We'll go into the skills now. Her skills are Whip of the Abyss. Deals damage equal to 200% of attack to an enemy and heals Margret for 35% of damage dealt. Level 2, 250 and heal to 40%. Level 3, 345. 4, 350 and 50. And level 5, 455%. What this means is Margret sustains herself very well. She has no issue staying alive, which is awesome. Especially early game, because she can be your very first early game carry. Sylvia is a little bit better in that aspect, but Margret is also going to be needed for bosses, and she's readily available within the tribe store, which you get a lot of tribe tokens in this game. The next ability, and this is what makes Margret special: Incineration. Every 25% of max Margret HP loses, she makes enemies burn for 3 rounds, taking 50%. Level 2, it's 75. 3, it's 100. And level 4, it's 125% damage. This ability alone is insane. She gets hit over and over. She loses 77% of her life. And then she goes off on a big crit, which is why you want to build her for crit and crit damage also. And she's full again to do it all over again. This works exceptionally well versus mobs, this works well versus bosses, and this works too well in PvP. In fact, too well. More on that later. And her last ability, passive, is Heart of Vengeance. When an enemy dies, you gain 8%, 12%, 16%, and 20% of max hit points. This is based on artifact level. There are better heroes to invest your artifacts in. I wouldn't even, to be honest, I don't think until your very late game it's even worth taking her past plus 20. The additional increase to stats is based off raw stats, not stats with gear on. So it's actually pretty minimal. which is another reason for her artifact. I probably should switch this to a hit point attack because I'm really not getting that much of a boost with 2 attacks. Now, ores. This is another thing. This is another reason Margret's so good. She's one of the few heroes that can use almost any ore and use it well. The only ore that you don't really need on her is the Tidal Surge ore, but that's it. And the Endless Seething also not so much because she comes with a pretty high armor break to begin with, level 5 armor break, so you don't really need that either. I opt for the Twilight ore because it's giving me crit and attack, so I'm playing into both of her abilities very well. For crit, it's letting me heal up more because I'm critting more often, and then attack, it's making her passive, which is really what Margret's about. That is what makes her great. Early game, you should run the the Awakened Echo Orb because it just increases her healing and it makes her really hard to kill. And it's also how you should run her in Mirror. It's best to run her with the Awakened Echo in Mirror because she almost always full heals. Now, Margret versus bosses is just great. You put her where she's going to be hit more often and she's just going to stack those dots. And they're just going to keep stacking and you just see them go on. And like 9 stacks of dot is not an unreasonable thing for Margret. Then she crits, she heals, bam, you start all over again. It is quite insane. The next, Margret does well in Mirror. Margret can in fact solo Mirror. It's a little harder at my level because the Mirror really escalates fastly. It gets super hard very quickly. In campaign pushes, she's not required, but you're going to find a hard time getting another hero to do better than what she does. Because she can die and she's still going to provide more damage than pretty much everybody else on your team if you pass the wave. And then what? PvP. PvP, Margret is exceptional. And the problem, okay, here we go. Here's a loss. The problem with Margret, and the great thing about Margret is, she's just so strong. You can place her somewhere and she doesn't even have to attack. She's just going to do what she needs to do. She's going to go crazy and she's going to kill the other team even though she died. It's awesome. It's kind of crazy actually, and to be 100% honest, I think it's kind of created a very bad PvP meta because she's almost required. She's that strong. I was testing other comps out, and even having a good win rate in having a far superior team, Margret RNG would still beat me. Just depends on how it is. If you look in this fight, this one, I remember this one. Lee actually cleansed and made Sylvia win, but Margret killed my team. Look there. I didn't kill her. I have 2 dot stacks. There's the 3rd dot stack, and that's it. I'm done. She doesn't get to heal, but I should win this. No, because Margret's dot is going to wipe my team, and that's exactly what happens here. Meryl's dead. Margret dot. Now everybody's like one shot. And then it goes on, and eventually Sarah dies at like round 15. They have created a bad meta right now, and it kind of needs a little bit of change to shake it up because nobody's willing to kind of test new heroes because we don't have the free team attack yet. Now, in the Ruins, Margret also becomes needed because Ruins is kind of like a PvE thing. It's kind of like campaign, and my Margret died against the boss. It doesn't mean my push is over, but I'm going to have a lot harder time because that dot just is so strong. She just keeps stacking it. It's quite honestly a little annoying. In the Tower of Trials, the only person that I even level for Chaos is Margret, and she's got me up to 270. And at 260, it actually starts to get a little bit difficult. Now, in comps for Margret, the best comp that I've found for PvE is Karthus, Margret, Cassandra, Lee, and Genji. just massive damage on that. And I ran that in Knight of Ash in my previous videos. So if you haven't watched those, go check it out. You can see Margret in full form. Sometimes Karthus will damage her. It just depends on how she's getting hit. But Margret is a fantastic hero. I don't want them to nerf her because there's no conceivable nerf that's going to make her viable still in any content. If you take any of that burn away, then she's just not useful in PvE content any longer. It's not going to be enough because that's kind of what she does. Now, for gearing. Ideal gearing for Margret is going to be on your staff. You're going to want crit damage, crit, hit points, and I would like fortitude. Or block would be okay as a secondary, but fortitude is kind of more important. And down here you want block, HP. I can't remember if this can't get crit or crit damage, whichever one it can't get. You just want to bump her crit up because Margret doesn't have to be fast. There are many comps within the arena that they slot one Margret and they put the green ore on her. And doing that almost and making her slow guarantees that she's going to get a turn 1 active. She'll go last, so she'll automatically active, and then she's going to create tons of problems for the other team unless they kill her. And the only viable counter, and it's not even a hard counter, is Meryl at this point. So not many people can really do that. That's it. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. That's it for this video. Margret is a pretty straightforward character. Burn everything to the ground. I'm pretty sure they shouldn't have named an event Knight of Ash. Margret's nickname should be Knight of Ash. Thank you and have a great day.